Thank you, Professor Tester, for your time and for attending our summit. I'd like to first ask you, what have you enjoyed most during the GapSummit?
I love the energy, and I love the great, bright people who are here, and you're the future. And so I love talking to people who are going to pick up with ideas and run with them. So for me, ideas are relatively easy at one level, but then picking those ideas, picking the good ones from the more generic ones, and then doing something with them, that takes a lot. And that's where the energy in this meeting is fabulous and very, very rewarding. So I like that.
That's very encouraging, thank you. What do you see as the most significant contributor to the future resources gap, as we branded it, and how do you think it should be addressed?
Okay, so the contributors, we can think of that as a technology or as a target. So the technologies at the moment, for me, are genetics, and having the genetics being turbocharged by genomics. So we're living in an unparalleled age in biology, and that is the genomic-fueled, the genomic-powered genetics that we can do now. So it's extraordinary how we're in such an age of discovery, and this is in the medical and in the agricultural fields. So for me, the technology is, yes, genomics-powered genetics. What you direct that to, for me, of course, agriculture and feeding people is the most important thing, and it's certainly a bottom line need for the planet and the future of the planet. How we're going to use genomics-powered genetics to increase our ability to feed ourselves and to feed ourselves well, there's all sorts of targets. For me, I would suggest that being able to get more than the current tonnage per hectare of land, this intensification of agriculture, is the key thing. And we can do that in many different ways, but we can get 16 tonnes per hectare out of a normal plot of land in well-farmed piece of land in Western Europe. That's amazing. The global average is 2. So this is a yield gap, and we need to close that yield gap by increasing the ability of plants to grow better on the soils in the conditions which are suboptimal. So that for me is a primary target.
Wonderful. As Professor of Bioscience at King Abdullah University of Science and Technology, with expertise in biological and environmental science, what do you see as an upcoming concern that will need to be addressed by 2050 in your field?
For me, in my field, it's food quality and quantity still. That's going to be an ongoing demand. And one way we can address this is to, and over this time period to 2050, we've got a chance to develop completely new agriculture. Imagine if we can make the deserts bloom. Now this sounds rather trite, but there's actually possibilities to do this, because we can do things like use solar power to energise the desalination of seawater or of other brackish water. And if we're able to do solar-powered desalination of seawater, then we can, if we can do that economically, then we can irrigate crops where there's currently nothing. So where's all the sun? In the deserts. Where's all the salty water? In the deserts. So let's use the sun to desalinate the seawater and irrigate crops in areas where at the moment there's actually nothing growing. And that's one of the amazing things in the Middle East, where you've got all of these resources and no crops. And that's one of the reasons I'm at the King Abdullah University of Science and Technology, is to have this opportunity to really try to address, hopefully achieve, this aspiration of developing a radical new agriculture. I mean, we're most likely to be able to get the sums to work out if we don't fully desalinate the seawater. So if we're able to, for example, using nanotube technologies for desalination, nanotube-based membranes, that could greatly reduce the cost of the desalination. So then if we were able to generate very cheap water using solar power economically viably and irrigate crops that have got an enhanced salinity tolerance, wouldn't that be wonderful? And that really would open up all sorts of radical new possibilities for increasing food production. So that's what I'm on.
Thank you for that insight. And finally, what would you want to share with any up-and-coming scientists and professionals in the biotechnology?
Right. Follow your dreams. Keep going, doing what you want to do. If you do what you want to do, what you enjoy doing, then you'll do more of it and you'll get a positive feedback. You've got to enjoy what you're doing and follow your passions. And don't let old farts like me, or even middle-aged farts like me, say that some idea of yours is wrong or silly. That's been done to me when I was young, and it's terrible. It can set you back by 10 years. Don't let old people, middle-aged people, say that some idea of yours is actually wrong. Challenge, go back, push back and say, all right, it's wrong, why? Why is it wrong? So just keep pushing and really asking for full explanations if something that you've come up with, which is original and radical, is being dismissed. Don't be dismissed. Follow your dreams and forge on.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure. Thank you for inviting me here. It's been great.